I felt the lump on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind when the kettle whistles too long and the mail arrives late, a hard little pebble under my skin, enemy territory in a place that had once nourished my children. By Friday, the scans glowed. The surgeon spoke in grim timetables and everyone tiptoed as if loud voices could shatter what time I had left. But in the blur of oncologist jargon, one clear picture blazed. My granddaughter Lucy, in a white dress she'd sketched since kindergarten. Lace sleeves, open back, sunflower bouquet. Date set, 1 year, 2 months, and 6 days away. She'd asked me to walk her down the aisle and hold her hand at the altar. Because, Nana, you're my second mom. Cancer loved that timeline. Lucy visited after my first infusion, chatter bubbling about venues and color palettes, never once mentioning the IV pole in my arm. When she left, she pressed a bracelet into my palm. Tiny silver charm shaped like clasped hands. One for each of us, she said. I'll wear mine on the big day, and you'll wear yours. Promise glittered harder than fear. That night, as nausea wrung me out, I stared at the charm and made a pact with every cell in my battered body. Live long enough to stand beside her. Live long enough to feel her fingers trembling in mine. Live long enough to say you look radiant and mean it more than breath. Chemo, radiation, surgery, throw them all. I'd trade hair, appetite, sleep, anything but that moment. Because love isn't polite to disease, it plants its flag in the future and dares death to cross the line. And that's how the war began. A 75-year-old with veins full of chemicals, lungs full of prayers, and a calendar counting down to lace and sunflowers. Cancer turned our home into a battleground disguised as a crafts fair. The refrigerator transformed first, door plastered with Lucy's save the dates, fabric swatches, a magnet list of chemo appointments. Next to them, posted affirmations, Helen, my daughter, Lucy's mom, printed in bold marker, wig fitting Friday, port flush Tuesday, fight like a girl. Chemo days began at 4 a.m. I'd wake to the smell of ginger tea and the soft zip of Helen packing a wedding wear bag. Crossword puzzles, peppermints, a binder labeled Operation Nana Flower Girl. Infusion rooms reek of antiseptic intention, but my corner smelled like citrus oil and hope. Nurses learned quickly. No small talk about prognosis, only gown-colored debates and playlist approvals for the reception. Hair evacuated by cycle 2, Lucy sat cross-legged on the bathroom floor, buzzing the remnants while streaming bridal hairstyle tutorials. Bald is bold, Nana. We'll add sparkle with a crystal headpiece. She glued rhinestones to my chemo cap, each gem a countdown mile marker. Surgery slices came next. Lumpectomy turned mastectomy when margins misbehaved. Operating room lights flicked off. I awoke to a flat chest and drainage tubes, heartbeat thudding panic until Lucy's bracelet clinked against my wrist. Helen whispered, "One step closer to the aisle." Radiation burned skin into angry rose petals. To ease the sting, Helen printed the wedding menu and read entree descriptions in a measured voice while applying a low. Pan-seared salmon, wild rice pilaf. Imagine the taste, Mom. I savored imaginary bites, swallowed real pain. Physical therapy began 6 months pre-wedding. Goal, raise my right arm high enough to fix Lucy's veil. Therapists strapped resistance bands to the living room door. Every rep echoed with bridal march rhythm. I cursed, I cried, but the thought of wobbly hands fumbling her veil burned hotter than torn fascia. Meanwhile, Lucy's planning never paused. She FaceTimed from dress fittings, holding her phone to mirror so I could critique bustle options between sips of anti-nausea broth. She mailed scent strips of wedding flowers, sunflowers, and baby's breath, because clinic air smelled like plastic sorrow. At night, insomnia gnawed. I'd scroll through Pinterest boards of Paris elopements and beach ceremonies. Not because I doubted attending hers, but to remind myself joy thrives beyond hospital walls. By autumn, doctors uttered partial remission, but tempered it with immune crash risk. I answered by ordering custom hand sanitizer favors shaped like mini bouquets for every reception table. Love, glitter, antiseptic, our holy trinity. 4 months to the wedding, blood work tanked, white cell count plummeted. Oncologists proposed postponing final chemo to avoid infection. I counter-proposed accelerating dosage, a sprint through hell to finish line. Protocol frowned. I insisted. Cycle 9 hit like a freight train. Mouth ulcers, bone-deep fatigue, hallucinations of violin music that weren't entirely unpleasant. Lucy visited wearing a surgical mask bedazzled with Team Nana. She read her vows aloud for practice. My IV beeped backup harmonies. One night, fever spiked to 103 degrees. ER lights, isolation room. Doctors murmuring, sepsis watch. I drifted between chills, clutching the bracelet like rosary beads. At 2 a.m., Lucy called hospital security from the lobby, arguing until they let her gown up and slip inside. She set a Bluetooth speaker on the bedside and played the song for our aisle entrance. Benny King's Stand By Me. Pulse settled, fever broke by dawn. Nurses recorded rapid improvement, likely antibiotic response. I credited doo-wop and granddaughter stubbornness. Weeks later, I stood in front of a full-length mirror for the first time post-mastectomy fittings. Silicone prosthesis, scar tape, lymphedema sleeve, armor under a grandmother's cardigan. Helen zipped me into a graphite silver gown Lucy had chosen. Matches your eyes, Nana, and sparkles like survival. I lifted my right arm, just high enough to position an invisible veil, and wept soft, grateful tears. 2 months left, venue walkthrough. Doctors okayed half-day outings if I wore a mask and used a wheelchair between rest breaks. Lucy pushed me down rows of white chairs, pointing at the oak arch where vows would unfold. Halfway, she stopped, knelt, and whispered, "If you can't stand the whole ceremony, we'll add a vintage bench for us." A throne, really. I laughed, then stood, legs trembling, and shuffled 5 steps unaided. Applause echoed from staff setting up fairy lights. Back home, Helen unveiled Secret Project, a dance lesson playlist. Goal, slow dance with Lucy during reception's family song. 3 minutes of sway required stamina my chest scar despised. But each night we practiced micro increments, 30 seconds rest, 40 rest, until music became muscle memory, synced to chemo-altered heartbeat. Final oncology review, scans clear, markers down, permission to travel beyond bedroom fatigue. I nodded, thinking crowd avoidance was impossible at a wedding, but Lucy had a plan. Guest masks embroidered with sunflowers, outdoor seating, sanitizer stations disguised as lemonade stands. Rehearsal dinner eve, hair regrowth minimal, soft silver fuzz. Lucy surprised me with a custom fascinator, sunflower silk petals framing a tiny rhinestone ribbon symbol. "Nothing hides scars better than pride," she said, pinning it above my ear. That night, insomnia visited again, not with fear but anticipation. I rehearsed tomorrow's route, hotel suite to limo, aisle steps, handoff at altar, veil fix, front row seat, first dance sway. Each segment mapped like battle phases. Wedding morning dawned crisp, sky bluer than bandages on my arm months earlier. Makeup artist airbrushed warmth onto chemo-pale cheeks. Helen shimmered in Mother of the Bride teal. Venue bustled with sunflower gold linens. Minutes before procession, Lucy entered my dressing room alone, lace train sweeping hardwood. Seeing her in full bridal glow ignited a pulse stronger than any stimulant. She knelt, though etiquette insisted I should, and pressed her forehead to mine. "We made it, Nana." I squeezed her bracelet hand. "No, love, you made it," dragging me along. Music cued. Ushers opened double doors. Sunlight spilled 4 steps. I felt hip ache. 8, scar tissue pulled. 12, adrenaline-drowned pain. Mid-aisle, she leaned close. "Remember our bench backup?" I shook my head, steadfast. We reached altar. I placed her hand into her fiancé's, lifted her veil with trembling right arm fully overhead. Goal met. Ceremony blurred in tears and camera flashes. At recessional, my legs shook, groomsman whisked chair behind me, but I waved him off. Endurance held. Reception under oak canopy, first dances, speeches, clinking glasses. DJ announced family dance. Lucy rushed over, slipped out of heels, and guided me to floor. Benny King crooned through speakers. We swayed. Slow, measured. Halfway, she rested her head on my shoulder, exactly as she did at age 6 after nightmares. Guests cried. I focused on each lyric as proof of heartbeat. Later, photographer captured candid shot. My hand atop Lucy's. Bracelets touching, sunset flaming behind us. That image would land on chemo ward bulletin boards labeled Reason. Evening ended with sparkler exit. Helen escorted me to limo while fireworks crackled overhead. Inside car, I checked watch. 11 hours vertical, marathon for a surgically bruised body. Chest twinged but rhythm steady. Back in hotel suite, I removed fascinator, studied mirror. Wrinkles deeper, brows faint, but eyes blazing triumph. I whispered gratitude to breasts now scars, veins used as highways, bones that held me upright. Then gratitude to Lucy's unrelenting hope, Helen's tactical care, and whichever cosmic nurse scheduled remission before vows. The wedding wasn't a finish line, It was a vote of confidence for the life that follows. Post-event scans stayed clear. Oncologists reduced follow-up frequency from monthly to quarterly. I kept PT sessions not for recovery now, but for maintenance. Mobility to chase great-grandbabies someday. Nutrition stuck. Sunflower seed-crusted salmon replaced comfort casseroles permanently. When taste buds whined for salt, I rewatched dance video. Visual seasoning stronger than sodium. Lucy started a non-profit delivering bridal visits to hospital cancer wings. She christened it Nana's Hand. I became spokesperson. Fascinator sparkling on Zoom calls telling patients, book a date worth fighting for. Community ripple, church organized, promise projects, pairing seniors battling illness with milestone goals. Baptisms, graduations, quilt shows. I mentored a 62-year-old prostate cancer patient determined to hike the Grand Canyon Rim. We exchanged training logs like pen pals. Personal side effect, fear downgraded to respect. I monitor scars, note fatigue, schedule rest, not out of dread, but a stewardship of miracle mileage. Helen finally took a solo vacation. First since my diagnosis, trusting I wouldn't crumble without her sentinel gaze. I spent her trip planting sunflowers along the fence, each bloom a silent oath. I'll be here when you return. The biggest consequence, redefined purpose. Cancer's theft of certainty gifted clarity. Presence outweighs plans. I no longer postpone love, compliments, second helpings of laughter. Tonight, the reception playlist loops on my living room speaker, faint as candlelight. Lucy's wedding photo rests on the mantle, 2 bracelets glinting, scars hidden beneath silk and sun. I run fingers over the charm on my wrist, cool metal warmed by years of blood still stubbornly pumping. 3 times my heart surrendered, 3 times love resuscitated it, not with paddles, but with unwavering intent. If you're hearing this from a hospital bed, the infusion chair, or kitchen floor where grief threw you, listen. Choose a moment worth standing for. A graduation, a sunrise hike, a child's first dance recital. Name it out loud, tape it to the fridge, carve it on your will to live. Then gather a brigade of believers, one if that's all you need, and let their hands haul you over each medical mountain. Medicine treats disease, devotion treats despair. I am 70, so hit subscribe if you crave more stories where love rewrites prognosis. Tap like if a heartbeat felt louder while you listened, and share below. What promise will you chase beyond the edge of fear? Because somewhere ahead, under strings of lights or cathedral ceilings, someone is waiting to feel your hand slide into theirs. And no diagnosis, timeline, or weary cell has the authority to deny that touch. If you decide to fight for it,